Hello from Chiang Mai, Thailand. It is 16 April 2020. It is 10:04 in the morning here in Thailand, which makes it 23:04 in New York City or Washington D.C. I'm on day 7 of fasting. I just crossed out day 6 and put day 7 so I can save some paper. Zero food fasting, just water now. I haven't even had coffee since about 3 days, I guess, something like that. So just vitamins and water. Let's get started. Tell me if you can hear what's going on. If you can, we'll get started. Please share it out too, because uh, Facebook sure doesn't, and nor do any of the other. So many social media people are talking about none of their channels get shared out, and so please let me know if it's going on. Okay, Tony says 5 by and no echo. Good, I worked on that. Hey, hello, Margot, and so that's good. No echo. Alrighty, let's wait till a couple hundred people get on if they're out there. A lot of people are not at work today, and yeah, I did shave. I didn't get my electric shaver in yet, though. It still hasn't come in, so I just did it. I had to go through 3 razors to get all that off. Can you imagine? I should get one of those straight razors, like and with a strap, and and do it that way. So we can get started here soon. But I had a power outage last night, and during the power outage, I went on. I was just about to go live actually, and then we had a storm come in. It was actually a trivial storm. It was some lightning and that sort of thing. This is sort of like Central Florida weather here in Chiang Mai, but it's more intense actually in Central Florida. More lightning, more just everything. But here it can get interesting as well in Chiang Mai, in Thailand. But so I've noticed that the first storm of every year seems to knock the power out, and this one did too. I was like, you know what? This is not big, but I'll bet it takes the power out. And sure enough, it took the power out. And hey, Wei Sean, and so that was a good opportunity for me to test, my systems on my power outage systems. And actually, I'm revamping them now so they didn't so nothing kicked in to take over, except that I had lights everywhere and candles and all that. But the battery backup system and all that is not ready to kick in yet. But one thing to keep in mind, by the way, if you keep Kim lights around, which I do, these are called Kim lights, right? Or some people call them glow sticks or different things. They make sure, just realize that these things will expire after about 4 or 5 years. They're not like sea salt or water. They really do expire. So I knew that these were expired, but I had kept them in the packages anyway, and because I didn't want to waste them by testing them. I had others anyway. So so last night when the electricity went out, I tried the what I thought were the bad ones first, and they were. This one got a little bit of glow going to it, not much, not enough to do anything, and this one just a tiny amount. You could tell. So make sure you check your Kim lights. If you keep a lot of Kim lights around, they're good to keep around, but in 4 or 5 years, these bad boys don't work. So make sure you rotate them or use them before that time. Let me see. Oh, I'll show you something with a string. You know that you see these strings right here. That came right out of the package, by the way. That's the Kim light, has a string on it, right? And what you do, military will use those strings and they'll swing the Kim light around, and that'll alert like a helicopter where you're at or whatever. So, you just let her go, and well, you can't see it, but that's what sometimes when you're out on a mission, guys will do that to let the helicopters or the A-10s know who not to shoot. All right, let's get started. Interesting things going on, but yeah, join me on the fast. By the way, it's very good. As you know, there's a lot of comorbidities that are causing deaths from the virus, and one of them is just being fat. And so, losing fat's a good way to reduce your chances of being dead next month or next week. Start losing fat. Start fasting, unless you've got like type 1 diabetes. That's a read Jason Fung's book. Dr. Jason Fung. He's a Canadian doctor. I need to stay close to the mic. You need to read his book. He's got a book on fasting. I've read 3 of his books, but and it'll lay out for any alerts for people that should not fast. But almost everybody actually can safely fast. You don't hear of people dying from fasting, do you? Have you ever heard of, well, he was on his 3rd day of fast and he just keeled on over and died? You know, you hear people all the time saying it's so dangerous to fast. What are you doing? I'm like, do you remember anybody that died from fasting? I'll bet we could Google and look for people that have fallen off ladders and died and find a lot of cases, but you don't find that many who've died from fasting. I drink mineral water of different sorts. That's one kind. It's very expensive, that one. Um, but I mix them up. Like one day it'll be this sort, one day it'll be another sort from Italy, another day it'll be a different sort from France, you know, and just mixing them up, and then tap water, not tap water, it's filtered, but you know what I'm saying. And so different sorts of, but tap water is not, well, it is mineral water sometimes, but mineral water is good too. You need minerals and vitamins when you're fasting. We can talk about fasting later. Um, Randy Burnett says, what do I think about Bill Gates criticizing Trump withholding funds from who? Well, I actually have some thoughts on that, but let's save them. Let's save them because I got some other stuff to talk about first. We'll quickly get through this. I've only got 5 or 10 minutes to talk about. First of all, thank you everybody who's supporting my work. Very important. I absolutely need it, and hugely important to support me on PayPal, Venmo. Patreon is the best, actually, because people generally sign up monthly. Thai and Japanese bank accounts is extremely helpful. I need it. And in fact, at some point this year, I will be returning to the United States because obviously we're in trouble. But we're going to get out of it. But we're going to have to work hard, and work smart. So I'm thinking about ways to help by going around the United States and finding out where people are doing stuff right to start making money and making a living, making local economies, buying from local farmers. See, we got laws against whether or not local farmers can even sell to people and that sort. We're going to work all through that and figure it all out and figure our way around this so that we get past all this nonsense that's been built up over the years. All right, so thank you for the support. Really important, very important. If somebody did not get a thank you, it's for some reason, like email bounced or something like that, or I couldn't find an email. So, right. Of interest are state coalitions that are forming, for instance, California and New York, and other to open up the economies, which I actually agree with them. I don't know the details of what they're doing. I'm just saying I agree in principle. And I think President Trump would as well, actually, to open up the economy, because watching our economies be devastated the way they are will bring so much more trouble. It is imaginable. It's road warrior stuff. So we need to open the economies. We're going to take casualties. We're going to take casualties one way or the other. I wanted to shut everything down in January and February. I was saying it in even March, but now that has failed. That has utterly failed because we never shut down enough to stop. I got a message today from one of my family members saying one of the news agencies just said that like it's breaking news that China closed down internal travel, like from Hubei province, but we're letting people travel to the United States, as if that's breaking news. I was saying that since January, right through this microphone. I was saying, look, be careful. They're letting people fly. They're letting they've stopped internal flights, but they're flying all over the United States. So that's not breaking news. It's only breaking news to people that aren't paying attention. Low audio. Let me turn it up. Sorry about that. How did that happen? Maybe one of my cats jumped up on the. Maybe a cat. Thank you for telling me low audio. Let me get the adjustment right. I need a whole team is what I need. All right. Thank you for the alert on the low audio, Randy Burnett, and I am going to answer your question, and I have some very specific thoughts on that. State coalition. I'm for it on one level. I think a lot of Americans are, but also remember that's how we ended up in our Civil War as well, right? So that we've got this division of power between federal and state level, which is good. I like it. It's very important. It's vital. But certainly when the federal government feels like it's being kicked out of the saddle, we've seen what happened in the Civil War. And so I'm not predicting that that's what's coming. I'm just saying Just keep it in the back of your mind. That's all. Um, oh, by the way, I was on the John Batchelor show with Gordon Chang this morning, or late last night. It was 10 hours ago, I guess, and it's pre-recorded, so I'm not even sure. I forgot to ask him when it's going on, but I was on with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor. That's my favorite radio show in America is the John Batchelor show. It's a great show. I've been listening to it for years. Now, let's get to a few little items, and then I want to start just answering questions because I really want to answer questions more. That's how I think I can be more of service. I do study what's going on 7 days a week. You can probably tell by circles under my eyes, so which I'm trying to get rid of by sleeping more. Mexico and other illegal aliens, we need to get them out. And I mean out. And I mean clearly in clear words, like we're asking you to leave kindly, right? And to be gone by X date. And then when that date comes, we are telling you to leave now. If you don't leave, we will kick you out. And then we start that process. And then the next phase will be, we've asked you to leave. We've kindly asked you to leave. Then we've pushed you out, the ones who are still left. And then the ones who remain after that, if we catch you, we're going to lock your ass up. You got it? That clear. We're going to lock you up. We're going to make camps out in the desert, and we're going to put you out in camps. That simple. You either leave when we ask you to leave when we give you a bus ride to or a plane ticket to your country, or help you get there, help your country help you get there, or we're going to put you out in camps. You can take your choice. And if you resist the camps, we'll shoot you. So this is very serious. Our economy is collapsing, and we don't have money to take care of people that are leeching off of our economy. Yeah, and I use the word leeching because it's true. I've been all over America, grew up in Florida, went to school in California twice, been all over California, been all over the United States except for Alaska and somewhere up north, right? I've seen all kinds of stuff. I know what's going on when it comes to this illegal alien nonsense, and it's time to put an end to it. It's very serious. Now, Mexico and China. Obviously, China is gunning for us, right? First, we have to take care of our economy and ourselves. First, take care of your own, preserve your force, right? That's what we need to do. Part of that is decreasing expenses. And part of decreasing expenses is out with all these illegal aliens that are leeching off of our system. Use the right word. The right word is important. We don't need them. We don't want them. They need to go home. We're asking you kindly. That's the way it needs to start. And then finally, we'll just take you and put you in camps, ultimately, unless you fight. And then we'll fight, right? So that's very important. We need to reduce expenses as quickly as possible. And that includes in everybody's personal life, obviously, as I have done, which I'm sure, people are already cutting funding to me, of course, as well. So like donors are cutting to me, which I understand, which is actually going to hurt me when I go around America and try to, I will do it some way or another. But funding always helps. So we all need to cut and then put the funding where it's important or where it's going to bring return value, right? So, right. War with Mexico. A friend of mine, Dale Yelenick, sent a message today about he just mentioned something about potential future war in Mexico against cartels. It's actually on the back of my mind and many others as well. Because if we start in our battles with pulling back our manufacturing and probably putting a lot into Mexico and India, but a lot in Mexico, I would imagine, then we're going to have to deal with those cartels. And those cartels are enemies. And they're going to cause every bit of pain. And we may have to kill them. And so we just need to be into that realization that they won't quit. They'll just fight. And they're going to continue to pump drugs like fentanyl into the United States and into Mexico. And they'll kill our people. And so we might have to just go ahead and start killing them. So this is something that Mexico has worried about for years. Generations. Their military is trained for a U.S. invasion, right? I'm not saying to invade Mexico. I'm just saying that we can make life extremely miserable for cartels without ever stepping a foot into Mexico. We can make it fantastically miserable. We can attrite their forces. We can mitigate their ability to do anything. First of all, declaring them enemy combatants, and so except ununiformed, illegal. And so, yeah, that's right. The cartels will kill you dead until we go total Dracula on them, because we can do it too. But we've been playing by these rules, and we can change the rules. It's very important. All right, so I believe, let's see, I think it's kind of a no-brainer on this part, that newspapers are going to start going out of business like mad. Well, they have been for years, but as they go down and shrink down, often they consolidate and buy other newspapers and that sort of thing to keep the local markets, right? Because local newspapers are actually very important. Local newspapers are vital, because local newspaper, you're not going to get your local news from, national newspapers like New York Times, right? Or Los Angeles Times. You need to have local papers. I think a lot of those are going to go out of business. That's a no-brainer. Going to have to go more and more online. Actually, I get the vast majority of my information does not come from any mainstream at all, which that's been true for years. I spend, oh, good Lord, I would say, I might say a different number on a different day, but 95% of my information comes from non-mainstream sources. I find mainstream very helpful when I want to, I'll keep it on so that I can see, hey, is there anything like, did Godzilla just come out of the Pacific? They can be very good for quick alerts on things like that. But they're very slow when it comes to other things, and they're very inaccurate and politically showcased. So, all right. Let's get going. Let me answer some questions. Let me start with Randy. Randy Burnett asked, what do you think about Bill Gates criticizing Trump withholding funding for World Health Organization? I did not actually see Bill Gates say that. Let me preface this by saying some of my position on Bill Gates. I've watched what he's done on the toilet thing and some other things, and I didn't think it was all bad, quite frankly. And when I would say that, people would go crazy. And they would say, Bill Gates is a globalist and all this. And I'm like, well, I just don't know. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm saying I haven't studied it enough. But now, as time goes on, I'm starting to actually, I'm not going to say I agree yet, but I'm going in that direction. I'm definitely walking in that direction, that he's kind of got I haven't paid enough attention to him because I've been doing other things. But so on the World Health Organization defunding, yeah, we need to do it. Listen, we pay 15% of the World Health Organization. They work for China, period. They work for China. Full stop. Did you see the interview from Hong Kong when the interviewer asked, I think it was, who was that? RTHK, or was it Epoch Times? I'm sorry, I don't recall. But an interviewer, she was doing a fine job. She was interviewing somebody at World Health Organization, and then she asked him about about Taiwan, and he hung up the call. You should see it if you haven't. Taiwan is like the one country that did this really right on dealing with China and the virus. It was Taiwan. That's why I watch Taiwan. If I want some clue about what's going on, I watch Taiwan. What are the Taiwanese people saying? What are the Taiwanese news saying? They're smarter about China than almost anybody out there. Hong Kongers are pretty smart about it too. And the Japanese, what they call ultra right wing, which most of us call like they would just be like, no, they're not ultra right. They're just against Chinese communists. So they'll get labeled ultra right. Just ultra right. They're not. They're just like people you would want as your neighbors. They're not crazy people. But on the World Health Organization, we need to defund it. I think I saw Steve Bannon say it first, we should put Dr. Ben Carson in there we can't put who we want in there, but what we can do is say, here's our money, have a nice day. We don't need you. You didn't help us with this virus. In fact, World Health Organization and Tedros, in fact, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Chinese Communist Party is the ultimate cause of this, right? But World Health Organization is a penultimate cause, right? They're second, right? And they in January, when did World Health Organization finally call this a pandemic? Was that March? I think that was in March. It was something crazy like March. You know when I was calling it a pandemic through this microphone? January. And it was clearly a pandemic in January. No ifs, ands, or buts by any definition at all. Because remember, in January, I bought 600 masks for my friends in Hong Kong and Thailand. And not for me, I already had masks. I think when I first got on this was actually January 11th. I've done some forensics in my archives. I think that was when I actually first really started jumping on this hard, was January 11th. And I started going more public in the January 20th, like 22nd, 23rd, that. And then I started going really heavy on it. By the 27th, 28th, I was super heavy on it. I was telling people behind the lines, not as much online, but buy masks, start stocking up on food. I was saying this in January. World Health Organization was like, don't worry, those are not the droids you're looking for. That's not the real devil. This is just nothing. Everything's okay. No person-to-person transmission, no airborne transmission, all lies. They already knew it. China had already locked down on travel within China, and they knew, and World Health Organization is part of the problem, period. Cut their funding, period. Cut their funding until we get what we want. That simple. You either give us what we want or we cut your funding and kick your ass out of the United States. That simple. Likewise with the United Nations and every other little organization that China is deeply embedded like a tick giving Lyme disease to everybody. We need to change the way we're doing business with the entire world. New paradigm. Stuff that some of us have been saying for years. Cut down a lot on international aid. The international aid that's coming from Americans, as an example, should not come from your taxes. It should come from a box. If you check it on your tax forms, I agree to donate X dollars to international aid. That's the way it should go, except for some emergencies. Sometimes we use aid for political leverage, in which case it's quite valuable. In other cases, though, we're using it for other things. But there's ways we can find ways around that. Basically stealing taxpayer dollars and giving money away to people that want to kill us, literally want to kill us. We got meth heads and all kinds of stuff running around the United States, people coming over the borders, and we're giving money away to all over the place, all over the world, to some people that would literally kill us or don't even like the United States. No. It's time to say no. It's time to say no to paying taxes that's just going out and funding people that are going to kill us. That's what's just happened with China, right? Since Kissinger, we've built China into the monster that it is. It's pathetic. Anyway, that's what I think, Randy. On withholding funds from who? Yeah, withhold the funds from who? And if Bill Gates doesn't like it, he can go stay in his bunker. Let me go to the top of the channel here, and I'll start answering questions top to bottom. Thanks, Margot. Good video. Hello from San Antonio, Mike. Corinda Ray, hello. Let's see. Wei Sean, just to highlight how much detail there is in your camera, did you cut yourself shaving? Yeah, I did. Right here. You can see it. Was it there? I was bleeding. Oh, no, not here. That's something. I hope the Wuhan virus doesn't have me. If you're talking about here, I didn't cut myself. No. But that's it's maybe it's one of those gigantic herpes monsters or whatever. I don't usually get sores, but every once in a while I will. I don't think it's from fasting because I've never gotten one before. Could be. Sean Fleck says, what other books do you recommend besides 100-Year Marathon on unrestricted warfare? Almost done with 100-Year Marathon. Great information. It is by Pillsbury. Let's see. What else do I recommend? I got some around here. They're over on my various bookshelves. And actually, I'd need to look on my iPad. I got loads on my iPad. Actually, Al Johnson is putting together a list of books to read. And Al Johnson, who's come on a couple times, he's going to be on very regularly soon. We're working on it right now. Actually, I need to call him up when we're finished. And Al is putting together a very good very good book reading list. Hey, Zirion, what is the likelihood of China invading Taiwan this summer? Well, there's a season to invade. Uh, I don't know, but I can tell you it's definitely on my mind. It's more than a little bit on my mind. I mean, I'm thinking go back to the United States, but also uh, China could invade Taiwan. And if China were to invade Taiwan, I would want to be there. It would be incredibly dangerous. They would round up people like me and kill us. So I would need to have plenty of time to figure out the situation. I wouldn't want to walk in tabula rasa into a conflict like that. And so I'm thinking about actually going to Taiwan, but I have to wait until they finish with some of their quarantine and that sort of thing. But I think that the probability is not trivial, but I don't know. Let's see, Ted. I can't organize the garage anymore. I'm in the yard 2 hours with the chainsaw, hedge trimmers, and looping shears. I can't do much more in the yard today. I planted the garden. Good garden planting. Look, since January, I've been saying stock up on food. I can't be more emphatic at this point. Stock up on food. It's really important. And I've been saying, at first I started with 1 month because I didn't want to sound crazy and everybody should have a month anyway. But then I started saying 4 months. But what I really want to say is stock up as much as is feasible for you to stock up. And do it now. Do it now. As much as you're financially comfortable with, and other levels of comfort as well, like space, but make space. Some of my Hong Konger friends are like, I don't have space for it. And I'm like, if I were to offer you that much gold, would you find space for it? Yeah, you would. And this is food. It's gold. It's not yet, but trust me, when you go to places where there's food shortages, your imagination is as good as mine is, except that I've seen it. Hey, Tony, they have some chem sticks that can be seen only with night vision. Correct. Yes, we use them in the Army all the time. Or I'm not in the Army anymore. Hey, Ross Zellman, I think I'm starting to realize you've been the earliest, best source of real info on not CV-19, we'll call it CCP virus or She's disease than anywhere else I've read. I searched back on your page through the dwindling of Hong Kong protests last night. When did you first realize Xi's disease was the real deal? Certainly by the 11th of January, certainly. I wasn't public with it yet then. I don't believe I was. If I was, it was on live streams. It wasn't on, I don't think I was writing it yet. I was saying people offline, like, hey, what do you think of this? What's going on? And I was hitting my web, but offline. But definitely by January 11th. I know that because I was looking at some email traffic the other day. And so January 11th, I was on it hard and paying very serious attention. And then when we get into the 20s, 20, 21, 22, 23, something like that, January, that's when I started getting more vocal. And by the late 20s of January, I was all over it. I was like, buy mask, buy food, and then Trump did his travel ban from part of China. So yeah, back then. And since that time, warning about potential food shortages. And again, people are like, this sounds too crazy. How can there be food shortages? But the grocery stores are all full, and they still are in most places. And remember, there was almost no cases out of China at that point, very, very few. But I had studied this sort of stuff for years. I'm not a virologist or anything like that, but I study war, and I biological warfare and those sorts of things, and just because this is all part of the same thing, right? This virus is a catalyst for huge things. Collapses of global economies, of the global economy and national economies, state economies, local personal economies, right? Not to mention, as in January, I was saying, this will bring famines. Big, if it goes the way I thought it might go. And it has gone that way now. It is going that way. You can rest assured at this point, now I'm saying with very high confidence, there will be famines that come out of this. Very high confidence. And there will be wars. I don't know where. I don't know when they'll start. but they're coming. It's there's a chance that they won't, but at this point, I would be putting heavy odds of various famines and wars and civil wars as well, wars between countries and also civil wars and civil unrest and some governments overthrown and that sort of thing. And we need to really build that wall, like seriously build the wall. And we don't have a chance to do it as much now. Time's running short, so we may have to build it with guns. Like, if you cross this line, there won't be any warning shots. It's like, don't cross this line because this is serious. We're not playing games. It's very important. Let's see. I'm answering as many questions as I can here. Ross Zalman. Also, 100% agree about losing weight. I've lost 20 pounds since March. Good man. 5 more to go to my BMA. That's body mass index. Under 30. Can't hurt. Good man. Good man. For every reason, too. Also, it builds discipline that you can transfer to all other things, and it makes you also more rugged against this disease. Hello from Oklahoma City, Lisa. Let's see. Hello, Diana. Beth, hello. And Rachel. Finical, back again. Good to see you back, Rachel. Soldiers do what they're told. They do that on U.S. soil, too. Yeah. Yeah, that could get interesting. Let me get down to questions here. Good morning, Lek and Torp. Okay. I'm looking specifically for hello in Prescott. Here in Prescott, Arizona. I've been to Prescott, by the way. We have Farmers Market Weekly. Today I planted tomatoes, peas, beets, radish, strawberries, cilantro, mint, chiloli, peppers. All right. Good. Where's my mic? Right here. I hope it's good now. You should be able to hear it. Talk. All right. Yeah, Margot, I don't think any of the states can really open with minimal risk. I think you're going to take more casualties when you open up, period. However, we're going to take the casualties one way or the other. We're dragging them out in hopes of finding a vaccine. Forget about it. It's so far off the horizon. That's 10 times over the horizon, right? It's so far away, it's irrelevant to what we're dealing with here. Vaccine, for our thoughts at this time, are irrelevant. No vaccine, period. Off the table. Don't even bring it up. Therapeutics, possibly like ivermectin. I'm not recommending ivermectin. I'm always reluctant to say anything like this on air. I'm very reluctant because I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I'm not recommending it. But I did buy some ivermectin. I bought it off Amazon and I bought some in Thailand. And you can buy it. It's for animals as well. And I'm not saying it even works. I'm just saying it's very cheap. And for the level of, it's not like it's $10,000 for a bottle of it. It's about $26 on Amazon, ivermectin, right? And it's extremely safe. And so, I mean, your risk ratio is pretty, so I'm not recommending anything. I'm just saying, there you go with that. But when it comes to minimal risk, when it comes to, we're going to take a lot of casualties, period. And we're going to take, I would actually be surprised if it ultimately stops in the hundreds of thousands. I would be surprised if it's less than 1 million. Hopefully it'll be a lot less than 1 million. But we need to keep rolling. And because there are other threats besides the virus. The virus is one serious threat. When you get into combat, ask any of your commander friends that were in combat, leading troops in combat. They're like, yeah, we got the sniper threat. We got the minefield threat. We're in the minefield and we're getting shot at by a machine gun. That's happened to me before. I mean, it's like, okay, which threat do you prioritize? You got people shot. You got all kinds of stuff. Hey, this is it, man. It's called war, right? You got all kinds of things going on. We got a virus. It's taking people out. We got China ready to take us out. We got economy collapsing. potential civil war or civil unrest within the United States and countries around the world. So we got problem set is enormous with many large problems. The virus is a serious problem. Is it the biggest problem? At this point, I would say no. It's a huge problem. It's a massive problem. Is it the biggest problem? Not in my opinion, not in my view. I think it's not the biggest problem. I think the virus should be given second priority. Casualties from the virus should be given second priority. People can still self-quarantine. I mean, you won't get the virus if you self-quarantine. So, so if everybody opens up, but you stay in your little box, you're not going to get it. In fact, they'll probably get herd immunity and then you can come out safely. Maybe, but more information is coming out about this virus. It looks far more dangerous just in the last days than anybody imagined, attacking many of our organs, attacking our lungs, kidneys, liver, many things, testes. So for all you young guys that are out there at spring break, and having a good time thinking it's no problem, well, you might have a problem with your testes soon. So think about that next time you're out, coughing and kissing beer all over everybody. So better check this stuff out before you walk into the minefield. So this is no joke. This is big boy rules. Screw up, you die. That's it. And so that's it. All right. Let me answer. Beth said, do you lose energy or slow down your metabolism by fasting? No. Actually, what you'll find, weirdly, this may sound weird, your energy level can actually go considerably up and have sleep problems. Actually, I haven't slept well as much lately, which I don't like that. I like to sleep well. And Soy started on the same day fasting as I did, and she's successful all the way into today. The longest she'd done before was 5 days, and I think she was still kind of afraid of it, but now she's not afraid of 5 days anymore. 5 days is nothing to her because she's on day 7 now, and her energy's good, and my energy's good. And actually, like when you get into like 10 days, like the longest I've ever gone is 20 days, your energy will actually be quite high. That's why I think U.S. combat soldiers, like of every sort, infantry or artillery, armorers, special operations, especially whether it's SEALs or Delta or Special Green Berets, Rangers, I think they all should go through at least one training cycle where they go for 10 days with zero food, nothing, just water and vitamins and minerals, nothing, because they will learn a lot about their minds, and they will it will make them a far more effective combat soldier. First of all, when they get hungry because they're like, we haven't eaten in a day and a half, they'll be like, so what? I went 10 days before. You know what I mean? It changes the way you look at things. Like, I missed lunch. So what? Who cares? I missed 3 days of eating. Whatever. It's like, I don't care. I'm fine. But you have to, work yourself up. But at least do one time 10 days in your life without eating. It has a very positive effect on your mind. Trust me, it's a very positive effect. But certainly check if you have any medical issues that preclude you from doing that, such as type 1 diabetes, not type 2 diabetes. If you got type 2 diabetes, this is what you should be doing. Well, I'm not a doctor, but that's what I'm thinking inside. Let's keep going. Hello in San Diego. Let's see. Yeah, Gordon's always on Fox News. Gordon does a great job. Every time I see Gordon, I either listen to what he's doing, and I typically, if I see his tweets, I'll retweet them, and I read his articles. He's squared away. Robert Day, the Northeast governors are just trying to blunt President Trump's move on a national level. Pure politics. Could be, but it's clear that Trump wants to open the economy too. He's dealing with this problem that any of us would deal with. We're in that situation. What do I do when I've got, no matter which way I turn, I'm killing people, right? No matter which way I turn, I'm going to make a decision that's going to kill people. And there's no way around it. Indecision is killing people. If you do nothing, that's a decision. Everybody that's ever been in serious life knows that. Doctors and nurses know that. No decision is a decision. Military people know that very well. And it's the same with our economy now. Trump and the states have to make decisions, and some of the decisions could be based on morals more than economics or military or whatever, which is important because one of the reasons we got into this problem was just immoral behavior of our, building up our companies in China on Chinese slave labor. I mean, it was just sheer immorality that brought us to that to begin with, right? And now we're back in this other situation where we're faced with, if I do what's right for the economy, it's probably, I don't know, but it probably is to just open it up and take a lot of casualties. Now, those casualties are going to be, and this is where it really angers people and me as well, because those casualties will be the weakest among it. They're going to be elderly people. They're going to be our grandparents. They're going to be everybody's grandparents and elderly aunts and uncles. A lot of them, not all of them, of course, many are going to survive. But, and also it's going to kill a lot of people that are, listen, if you're fat, if I were you, I would lose that fat right now as a matter of life and death. Because if you've had 6 months to get rid of the fat and then you die of this disease because you're fat, it's your fault. Bottom line, you died of being fat, and you need to really get to the realization and call these words what they are, not, hefty or well marbled or whatever, you know what I mean? But fat, I mean, obese. A lot of Americans are obese, period. And a lot of Europeans are, and some Thais are, not as many. But if you get this disease, clearly the medical experts are telling us being fat is very dangerous. And you can lose that fat quickly. You can lose it very quickly. Ted says he loves John Batchelor. I love the John Batchelor show too. I've listened to it for years. Hey, Larry. Yeah, no more wolf man. I got rid of that beard. Yeah, Ted says, you kidding? Minnesota is funding illegals, as are many states run by Dems. Yeah, they got weak minds. Now, they're about to have a come to Jesus moment when they're state by state, their economies now are very damaged. Every state in the United States, to my knowledge, is damaged by this. I don't know any that aren't. Is there one that's not? If there is, please fill me in on that. And a lot of these fluff things, like taking care of every kitten that shows up, is just not, we're not going to be able to do it, bottom line. And all these people that come over to the United States and just start having 10 babies and stuff, we got to get rid of them. Get rid of them. It's changing our demographics. Look, if they can't fix, we should not be welcoming in any people like that are running from a country that they destroyed, right? I mean, we should welcome them in only in limited numbers, period. Bites that you can chew on and assimilate. But that's not what we've done. We opened the floodgates, and next thing we got, Somali who maybe married her brother up, an elected official. That's just the stupidest stuff ever. Of course, she's up here. Sure, give out, we're doing the funding here. Give out $1,200 to everybody. Of course, a lot of people want it. They use that $1,200 to bait us, to bait, I'm not going to get it, but they use it to bait, to make it go easy, this stimulus package, it's got the hair up on my neck. Something's not right with it. That's pretty clear. We're going to have to make some changes in our government. Let me have a sip of water. Keep answering questions. All right. Governor Robert Day saying, Governor Newsom doubled down on illegals, giving them stimulus money. He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. And he's part of the problem. He is hugely part of the problem. I mean, on a larger scale. In other words, it's that PC scale that was made it so easy for China to sell themselves to the rest of America to do what we've done and basically make most of our pharmaceuticals or active pharmaceutical ingredients in China. That we're at their mercy. Let's see. Margot saying non-legal immigrants from Mexico are hired working our farms. Why are farms still hiring them? For reasons like that, for farm hands where we need them. Yeah. I mean, this is a business. This is transactional. Fine. But coming up to the United States to homestead and take over huge parts of the country And remember, and this is a lot of Americans don't realize this. There's a lot of Americans, there's a lot of Mexicans that want to take parts of the United States as part of Mexico, and they have historical grounds that they're throwing out there for that, and they're like, and they're populating those areas. Meanwhile, the border's wide open, and we got idiots out in some states that are governors are baiting them in, feeding them. We got sheriffs and law enforcement in some places that won't even pick up illegal aliens. They won't even do anything with them because if they do, they think, well, that keeps them from going to get medical treatment when they, free medical treatment that your taxpayer. Listen, American citizens who grew up paying taxes all their life can't get medical treatment. Why are we giving it to people that just roll in and have 10 kids? It makes no sense. It's stupid. It's political correctness nonsense. It's the stuff that'll end up, there's many things that can end up in civil conflict, civil unrest, civil war even. And this is one of them. This is one of them, is allowing too many fish into our aquarium that should not be in our aquarium, period. It's a fish in the aquarium thing. I've seen this in so many countries. Put the wrong fish in the same aquarium and it's game on. And there's no turning back and you can't turn it off. Deborah Danner, it's just is really hitting here in Missouri. We were one of the last states to shut down, and you just shut your schools, I think. More in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas combined. We just now are having community spread here. And, after it hits community spread, it's game on. And which was bound to happen because the states should have shut their own state borders down. Like Missouri should have shut its state borders down. I was saying back in January, we need to stop all flights coming into the United States, even from Europe and from any country that is allowing Chinese nationals to come in, right? But we didn't. And so the next step is states should stop their borders, and they didn't. And so the last border that you can really stop is at your home. You can stay home, and otherwise it's going to roll. And it looks like this disease may not be like a cold insofar as it just leaves you and it's gone. It looks like it's leaving severe damage on some people's bodies, to their lungs and to other organs. But this is just new, and so let's see. Thank you, Leo. Always appreciated your work and opinions. Thank you, Leo. I appreciate that very much. California is giving illegals 500 stimulus. That is just utterly nonsense. People should be out with pitchforks and torches and shotguns. That's why California wants to take everybody's guns. They want to do nonsense like this. So everybody that works so hard, I worked in California. I worked for Michael Jackson when I was in California, right? And so you pay so much taxes. Prices are so high because of the taxes in California. And a lot of it's just giving it away. It's just giving it away. It's like, why am I working? I work 7 days a week. I still do. I work 7 days a week most of my life in one way or another. Why do I want to give my money out in countries that I've been to all over the world for people that hate the United States? You know what I mean? I'm out here, as a taxpayer in these various countries. Some of them actually like us and appreciate it, and it's mutual beneficial, and it's helpful, and it's a good thing to do. And I understand that, but it still should be done at the private level, except in cases of national security issues. For instance, when we helped Thailand build their highways here to fight communists way back when, that obviously was an aid package that benefited all of us. But these things, I could go on for hours. The bleeding heart type stuff needs to be done by bleeding hearts. And I'm a bleeding heart on some level, but I'm not going to help people that want to kill my countrymen. I'm not going to help them. Even if they starve to death, I will not feed somebody just so they can get stronger and have babies and teach them to kill us. That's sheer stupidity. That's like you got to be living way far away from the reality that I live in to think it's a good idea to feed a crocodile that's going to eat your children and you. Let's see, Robert, I can't click that right now, but let's see. Yeah, exactly. We need to get rid of them. Start off being a gentleman, and then please leave. And some of them will. They'll read the writing on the wall, and they left politely. And others will just demand that they leave. And that doesn't work. We start arresting them and taking them to the border and kicking them out. And for the ones that still didn't, and we catch them later, they go to a camp. It's like, no, you don't even go. You don't even get a trial because you've already had your trial. You've been warned. You are now illegally in our country. You're going to stay in that camp until your government takes you out. When your government will take you back, that's when you're out of the camp. So if you're Mexican or you're Colombian or whatever, you'll need to communicate with your government to get you out of the camp, because you're welcome to leave at any point when your government comes and takes you out. Yeah, China is clearly preparing for something, Patrick. They are. Well, first of all, let me get some water here. They've been attacking us on so many levels for so many years, and Americans have been so naive. Many countries have been, not just Americans. Even many Japanese have been naive about them, but others not. Not my Japanese friends. They're highly dialed in and realize. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know how powerful the Clintons are now. Ed Maloney, according to official stats from the Department of Homeland Security, more than 1,500 criminal aliens were convicted of homicide and 3,500 convicted in both 2017 and 2018. That's 10,000 convictions in just those two categories. We can solve that. Get rid of them. We don't want them making babies here and homesteading, and then we can't even, it's too hard to root out, especially with our idiotic laws. We've got these laws that somebody can sneak into the United States and have a baby and they're an American citizen. That's just ridiculous. We need to get rid of that. I mean, it's a constitutional issue. We need to get rid of that. We need to, that's dumb. That's not in the best interest of our survival. That is, and not in a trivial way either. It's not like it's increasing our chances by a little bit. It's increasing our chances by a whole lot. Let's see. I'm trying to answer some questions here. I'm reading down. Emily, I throw papers. One of the companies I throw for owns their building, so no rent to pay, just taxes. Hopefully they'll stay in business. That sounds like a nice local paper. Let's see. Baby, check this out. This interview was not only covers the U.S.-China relationship specifically and its implications. Okay, it's got a link down there. I can't click that link now. Let's see here. Robert Day, Michael Yon, several of us have been asking, what do you do to stop governors like Newsom giving stimulus money to illegals? The first thing I would do, well, this is not a new problem, as you know, and this is something that has been a fight for a while. The first thing I would do is call in advisors, of course, and say, what options do we have? And what are the pluses and minuses of all these, and let's work this out and figure out where our pressure points are and inducements, or any way that we can just get nice compliance, any way that we can get compliance, like voluntary compliance, some basically make a deal. Look, you got to get them out, because they're having babies and they're being instantly, they're U.S. citizens, and that's our problem on a federal level. When illegal aliens have babies in California, that's Vermont's problem. That's New Hampshire's problem. That's every taxpayer in America's problem. And so that is a problem, and we need to do something about it. And ultimately, you see, this is where Civil War came once. It was states pushing too far that the federal government did not agree with. We ended up in Civil War. I'm not saying that states should not have rights. That's vital. I mean, states' rights are fantastically important. But at the same time, there's a balance between states' rights and federal rights in the United States as a whole. Let's see. I'm looking for any questions here. Wei Shan is saying, down in Australia, I think, saw that Doctor seemed to shill and hard for China. Oh yeah, Dr. Tedros, you're talking about World Health Organization. Yeah, he's a Maoist and everything else. That guy is unbelievable. Kim says, would China bribe World Health Organization officials? Threaten? Oh yeah, absolutely. Generally, they seem to bribe for people in positions like that, or they get them installed in positions. I see it all over the place. We see it with schools. We see it with universities. Speaking of which, now is time. Now is the time for a massive change in the way universities are run in the United States. One of the massive problems that we have with universities is that they're top-ended with people like this that will just do ridiculous things, act like money just grows on trees, and shill for China and other communists. Now is the time we can change that with classes at home. Why would anybody even go off to a university now when you got a big screen TV or a little screen TV or an iPad when you can watch the lectures right there? Why? Then you don't have to be subjected to that nonsense, and you can get your degree just as. Why not? Where's the knowledge any worse off? There's some subjects you need to go to the university for, right? I mean, if you're going for some physics, like magnet physics or something like that, then you have to deal with the magnets and all that. That's one thing, right? But a lot of the other degrees, why do you need to go to why do you physically need to go to a university to study English? You don't. Period. You can do it online and watch it. And that's, so many of our American students are not students anymore. They're older. They have these crushing student loan debts. They went into fields often that would never pay for their degree, and they could have just as easily done those online. Now, of course, not everybody's going to college just to get education. A lot of people really don't care about the education. We all know that. They're going for whatever other reason. They want to physically go there for whatever other reason. And to hell with them. So what? So you don't go to school. You know what I mean? So you don't. So if that's why you want to go to that, go to spring break. You know what I mean? But if we do online education, you can have the best teachers from around the world. Why? You could get a physics class from Feynman that's already on video. I've watched some of his classes on YouTube because I just like physics and I like Feynman. So you could get your physics or engineering or mathematics, English, French, Chinese, whatever you're studying, Japanese, get it online and get it from the best teachers in the world. Why not get your actual Thai language instructions from a Thai teacher in Thailand, as opposed, you know what I mean? A lot of people are taught languages by people whose that's their second language. In other words, they get taught, say, German from somebody whose German is actually their second language. You want to learn it from somebody who's their primary. There's many things that will be much better online, cheaper, just and we can get rid of a lot of this poison from the left wing people that have helped lead us into this nonsense. James Karayanis is saying California Governor Newsom announced he's going to provide $500 checks to 150,000 illegal adults, $75 million of taxpayer funded, and $125 million total fund with charitable donations. What an idiot. Can you put up a link to that? And meanwhile, we got Americans that can't get into the hospital. We got Americans that can't get medical care. Let me just shoot to the bottom because there's so many here, I'll never get to them. So I'm just going to shoot back to the bottom, all the way to the bottom, which is Paul Gambler, Jr., New York University study. People under age 60 with BMI, which is body mass index, over 30, obese, 1.2 to 2 point times, more likely, or 1.8 to 2 more times likely to have acute respiratory symptoms from the disease. BMI over 35 is 2.2 to 3.6 times more likely. So lose fat. If you're fat, now's a great chance to lose fat. Also, it's a good way to save money. I mean, if you're out of work and you got, say, if you've got 50 pounds of extra fat, you know how much that is? I mean, it depends on if you're a man or a woman, depending on how much calories you burn per day, or it depends on how many calories you burn per day. But let's say you're a big man and you're 50 pounds overweight. So that means you could go for 50 days without eating or reduce like one meal a day or whatever. And that that's 50 days worth of eating that you don't have to pay for because you've got money in the bank. Your fat is money in the bank. I mean, you could literally kind of cash out all that chocolate and stuff you ate by just going fasting. It could be one meal a day or whatever, and get down in weight quickly, and also reduce your chances of being killed by this virus, by She's disease, CCP virus. All right. I'm looking for any questions to answer, and then I'll go ahead and shut off. Got a lot to do. Wei Sean is saying no. Dr. Bruce. Word. If I got sick, I'd be treated here in China. Oh, I don't know about all that. I don't know what the subject was. Well, James is saying immigration is under federal government's jurisdiction, so not a states' rights issue. Kind of. But then we've got, I mean, theoretically, but then we've got the real world, as you know, which often, you know, what's the law and what's the real world can be, you know, they don't often balance. For instance, if California wants to let people come over the border, or even if let's say different, they're already in California, which huge numbers are, and the police arrest them for something and don't actually then start deportation process, don't report them to immigration. They don't report them, right? And many jurisdictions have said that they're going to do just that. If they arrest an illegal alien, they will not even report them. Likewise at our hospitals. Our hospitals are like, they should be sanctuaries, people believe. If you go to a hospital, then it should be a sanctuary. You can go to the hospital for free and not be deported, right? A lot of people believe that. And I see the logic to it. But here's how I then look at it. If you go to the hospital, you'll be treated for free and deported. And people say, you can't do that because then they won't go to the hospital. I say, listen, you knew where you were coming when you came, right? You knew where you were coming when you came. Big boy rules. You came to the United States. Now you can't come to the United States and expect us, other people, Americans who can't even afford their own pharmaceuticals, to pay for your free treatment. Get rid of them. Out. Don't want you. Go back to your country. Likewise, I'm in Thailand. If Thailand kicks me out, it says, go back to your country, I'll go. I'll go back to the United States. Bottom line. That's the way it goes. This is Thailand. It's not America. I don't have a right to tell Thailand what to do. I don't have a right to come and be a leech on the Thai system. I don't have that right. If you do that in Thailand, you will be kicked out, period. And nobody complains about it. Have you ever noticed that? Nobody complains about it when Thailand does it. Nobody complains about it when all these other countries do it. Nobody complains about it at all. They only complain about it when America does it. When America does it, it's evil America. That's what they say. When we kick out when Thailand kicks out illegal aliens, everybody's like, that's common sense. Of course you should. Japan, other countries kicks them out. But if Australia does it, people get upset as well with Australia. They're like, Australia, you should just take them all in. So I shouldn't say just the United States, but people get upset with, Canada, United States, basically white people countries. If you let people in and you're supposed to then adopt them, like adopting puppies on the street. It's like, are you kidding? You're like Merkel, you're just going to adopt people from cultures you have no understanding of. You have not even close to the amount of international experience that I have. Yeah, you're the chancellor of Germany or whatever, but you don't have anywhere near the amount of experience I have with cultures around the world. And I can tell you it is a vast and horrible mistake to just widely open your borders the way the EU did, Germany and other countries within the EU. Stupid. That can literally lead you to civil war. And it may well do that, actually. And there you go. Jenna, am I seeing any other food shortages here in the USA? I'm watching it 7 days a week, and I'm going to say extremely clearly, stock up. Stock up now. Stock up on food. That's as clearly as I can make it. Food shortages are probably coming, even within the United States. And food price, inflation is almost certainly going to come. Almost certainly. Even though it's been decreasing for a while, keep in mind there's a lot of nuance to this. Like, for instance, I think about 60% of Americans normally eat out of the house, right? But not now. Now most people are eating in the house. So they get their food from grocery stores or now ordering online, of course, in ways like that, right? So that changes the supply channels. So that you see these farmers dumping out milk and all this, there's reasons for that. It's not, there's very specific reasons for this. And the fact is, farmers are probably going to start going out of business soon. Think about that. When farmers start, if this happens, we're just setting the table for every reason, like on numerous levels, whether it's supply chain or production or just prices, that for food shortages. If I were you, I would stock up. And remember, once you stock up to the level that you feel is safe, and safe is not 1 month, to the level that is within your ability to do, and it fits your circumstance. Some people don't need to stock up much. I mean, if you're living out in Wyoming and you're 50 miles from the nearest city and you've been eating elk and everything else and you can fish and all that, you might not need to stock up as much, right? Because you're living large out there. But if you're living inside of a big city and that sort of thing, you better think twice. You better think it through. Worst case scenario is you end up with too much food. So make sure you get long shelf life. Go into YouTube. Look for preppers that are in your circumstance. That means your geographic circumstance for starters. That's number one. Like if you're in New York, preppers in New York, preppers in Oregon, preppers in Thailand, preppers in wherever, right? Go to wherever and look, because every area has its own problem set. And then to narrow that down further, what are your other situations? Are you living inside of a large city, in a metropolis, or do you live on a farm? If you live on a productive farm, you might not have too many problems. What if you live out in the country but not on a farm? That sort of thing. So there's all kinds of different situations. What is your economic situation? What's your medical situation? How old are you? How many youngins you got running around? Youngins is a Southern way of saying children, right? How many children do you have? That sort of thing. So you can find loads of prepping videos on YouTube, and you will find a lot of information that is extremely helpful. All these preppers that people call crazy all the time, they're not. They just know it. They're just channeling wisdom from their grandparents, like I did. And I've seen it around the world. I'm just saying, you need to be prepared. It doesn't matter how stable you thought your country was. I've been saying for years that the United States, in some ways, is extremely stable. In other ways, it's extremely unstable. And we've seen that right now. Stock up. All right, let me try to hit a few more questions. Bill Cotton is saying, per Mexico's own website, if you want to live in Mexico, you have to prove you can support yourself, and the process has to be started before you get to Mexico. Yeah, but meanwhile, they'll complain when in that Mexican government, he's an idiot. He's another one running around like, Boris Johnson recently was. I like Boris Johnson, but let's face it, he was an idiot. He got what he had coming. This is big boy rules. I'm not going to cry for him. I'm glad that he survived. I'm very happy. But he was out there in that hospital like, I'm in the hospital, shaking hands with people, like pretending like this virus is nothing, pretending like it's something silly like the flu. And he's out there, not that the flu is silly, but he was out there doing that. And then he got hit with it and he nearly died. And so big boy rules. I'm not going to cry for you, Boris. I'm happy you survived. I was actually worried that you wouldn't. But same time, maybe I'll see you soon. I got a call yesterday from Britain about some stuff. Anyway, when it comes to big boy rules, the Mexican president is just as dumb as Boris Johnson. He's got this medallion, religious medallion. He thinks that that's going to save him from the virus, and he's still out there in the public, meeting people and doing the whole huggy kissy thing or whatever he does. And if he gets smoked, he's older. If he does, it's big boy rules. You know what I mean? Big boy rules. Samuel Lee Samuel Lee says, "Hi, Michael. Facebook went on an independent fact checker raid today, graying out all references to this novel coronavirus having possibly come from the Wuhan Institute of Virology's testing on the horseshoe bats. Your thoughts about it being manufactured?" I'm starting to think, Samuel Lee, that the chance of this virus being manufactured, well, whatever happened, it's already happened. But my view that it may be manufactured is getting more weight to it, right? As opposed to just coming from the wet market. And remember that it came from the wet market is from China. And we know that China, what does China do when they give information? We already know. You can fill in the sentence. So the information came from China. So there you go. So in other words, it has no weight to it at all, that it came from a wet market. And of course, China denies that it came from the lab, but their word means absolutely zero. China's word means less than zero. So we need, and what we do know is that they didn't let our inspectors and they didn't let anybody come in and check it, and they sanitized and destroyed the wet market. So what's it looking like when it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, keeps quacking like a duck, poops like a duck, and tastes like a duck? I mean, I would say pretty high chance, but I don't know. Food prices already increased everywhere. Is that in Thailand too? Where are you at, Jaman? I thought you were in Bangkok. Where are you at? Yeah, the open borders thing is ridiculous. The economies are going to crash. I mean, I wonder actually how I'm going to fund when I go back to the United States. Like, for instance, people have signed up on Patreon, but what happens if the banks collapse or whatever? Of course, there goes Patreon. There goes, my ability to do. I'll be like one of those old Indian sages. My chief strengths will be the ability to fast and be still. You know what I mean? I can, like, in other words, when I can be quiet and not eat or at least eat a lot less and then do my job and eat and make do with a lot less. In fact, I just bought a couple of cots and had checking out my sleeping bags in the United States. Now I had one of my friends pulling them out, checking out all my gear for my return, in case I have to, in case it's really bad and I can't sleep in hotels when I go around to different places. I'll just do what I did when I was younger, traveling around and chasing cannibals and stuff. Often, I'll sleep where it's rough. Let's see, any questions I can answer here. Yeah, we got to get these illegals out. We got to get these illegals out. Did you see that Bernie guy, Mr. Commie Bernie? He's started supporting Biden now. Biden, I don't like to get political into the trivial, childish stuff, but obviously, U.S. politics is a national security issue of the first order. So to pretend like don't get political, that's nonsense. How can you actually do this without getting political? You can pretend you're not, but the reality is, if you're really paying attention to the national security of whatever country you're from or in, then you have to pay attention to the top level politics, period, right? And Biden looks like he's got some form of dementia, and it's getting worse, and rapidly so. And you've got Obama just came in supporting him, and Biden supporting him. I'm not saying Trump is a great president. I've never liked Trump. I've never said that I did. But I can tell you one thing. I don't see anybody running against him now that I would vote for, period. It'll be for Trump, even though he's made some huge errors on handling this virus. He has stood up to China, though. He's done a lot of good things. He's done a lot of bad things. But Trump derangement syndrome comes in the two strains, right? It's got the love and the hate strain. Yeah, look up. Lois is saying going to look up preppers on Facebook. Some of the best is there might be. I'm sure there's great ones on Facebook. But on YouTube, there's a lot of great videos. Like It can be a prepping video on just how to plant corn. Are sunflowers good to plant? When should you plant sunflowers? What about tomatoes? What about your generator? What about 1,000 things, man? They've thought it all through. And it's not just that they're making it all up now. These are things that are passed down through years and then applied with more modern technology. For instance, our grandparents didn't have solar power, of course, or even know about it. Well, other than, people would heat water with solar power. There's a lot anyway, not to get into that. But on the YouTube websites, YouTube on preppers, it's endless. You'll never be able to watch it all. And you'll get sucked down that hole in watching all kinds of prepping videos, and you'll learn a lot of information. And you'll probably find some channels in your neighborhood, and you may make some friends actually, because the preppers are kind of their own community in a sense. And they like to share information. Some of it's real time too. For instance, like you saw me put out several times, a lot of restaurants obviously are going out of business. Go ask the owners if you can buy their stock. That's cheap stock for you, and it lets those owners cash out. Everybody wins, right? So, and still, you've probably got a lot of restaurants out there with thousands of dollars worth of inventory in their closets and in their freezers, and they'd love to sell it to you. You know what I mean? Just call them up. Hey, whatever restaurant, what do you got? And they might say, well, I'm glad you called. Next thing you know, you're leaving with a car full of food at a good price, and they got some money. Well, they're happy, you're happy. Likewise, with the restaurant suppliers, up chain from them. I mean, I've been looking at those as well. They sell in bulk to restaurants, right? Which is, I guess, you can go like to Costco and Sam's and that sort of thing in the United States and get that. But alrighty. Rachel says, New York will fine you $250,000 for calling someone an illegal. Can you put a link to that, please? I've read stuff like that before. That's a typical like ultra overreaction. Even if you're going to do that, it should be, first of all, you shouldn't be able to do that. We have a First Amendment. But let's say you're going to give a fine for something else. It shouldn't be something ridiculously high for something like that. That is nonsense. I don't know if your number is right or if what you stated is right, but I have seen articles that are related to that, and it makes it believable, actually. Chutong says, are there preppers in Tokyo? Oh, I would certainly bet that there are, but they're probably in Japanese language, but there might be some there in English. Just look up preppers Tokyo. Do a Google search or go to YouTube or whatever. Google might get wider answers, or not saying go to Google, but go to some portal and do a search. All right. Jacob said, but that's one thing. If you're in the community of preppers and you're paying attention to them in your locality, they might give advice on stuff that's only specific to your locality, right? Like, hey, so-and-so food distributors going out of business. You might want to get down there right now. I just bought everything I could get. That's local information that's not going to be on the news, and you're not going to pick it up unless you got your finger on the local pulse. So you got to keep your finger on the local pulse. So, get dialed in with local preppers so that you can swap information about who's got what and that sort of thing. Very important. And also watch the national and international levels as well. There's Mr. Al Johnson. I'm going to call you up when I go offline, Al. Let's see. There are a couple of, let's see. Jacob Crisp, there are a couple of restaurants are acting as mini grocery stores using their suppliers. That's great. That's a good idea. That's a good idea for everybody. Probably makes the grocery stores unhappy, but let's see. But we see supply chain. There's supply chain differences have just occurred, or changes have just occurred due to restaurants closing and hotels and so many other things. A huge amount of the food that we consume was not coming through the grocery stores. And there's actually another supply chain. You probably didn't know this. I didn't until recently. There's the supply chain that comes to us as just consumers. And then there's another separate supply chain that goes to other sorts of users like restaurants and that sort of thing. And it causes some really disruptive problems when you're trying to then, there's articles about it online. I should have published some. I just read so much. I don't publish everything I read. Um, but yeah, there can be problems from supply chains, even if you see a lot of trucks on the road. It's just stock up on food. That's the bottom line from all the things I'm reading and studying and talking with people. Let's see. Thank you, Lois. And thank you, Al, for putting the links up. Yeah, Corey says, what's the difference between an illegal alien and an undocumented immigrant? One is the PC term and the other is the true term. The true term, of course, is illegal alien. Sharon Valentine, separate supply chain for toilet paper. A toilet paper mill blew up in Maine. Blew up. Were they making too much toilet paper and blew up? All right. What the supply chain thing was in today's news conference? If it is, I need to watch. I need to watch it anyway. All right. Let me go ahead and go offline. I got to call Al Johnson and do everything else under the sun. I'm sorry for any questions I didn't answer. I try to answer them all, but as you can see, it's not feasible. Thank you for your support on Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, Mitsubishi Bank in Japan, Bangkok Bank in Thailand, Krung Thai Bank in Thailand. So many ways. I need it, and you need the information, and I need the information too, and I need the funding. All right. Thank you. Mike out.